so we've been talking a lot about the social nature of the game, and of course, when you think social and you think MMOs, you think about guilds. And we've been pretty quiet about what our plans for guilds are, and so we wanted to kind of start talking about the way that guilds function in Guild Wars 2 a little bit more. So the first thing that we looked at when we were looking at guilds is we tried to break down from a very basic level, what do people really want from guilds? We tried to sort of throw out some of the preconceptions that we had about how guilds usually function in an MMO and look at like, hey, these are the things that would be really cool. And guilds are basically social networks. And so the very first thing that we decided is, well, it's really cool to be able to belong to different social networks. And it kind of sucks that I have a character, and in most games I'm bound to a single guild, and it's a pretty big commitment to go from guild to guild. And so even if I have different groups of friends or different guilds that I hang out with, I can't belong to both of them at the same time. So what we've done in Guild Wars 2 is the way guild membership works is your account belongs to a guild, and you can belong to as many guilds as you want. And at any time on a given character, you can choose to represent any of the guilds that are linked to your account. So if I'm not in a very sociable mood that day, I can choose to represent no guilds. If I'm going to PvP that day, I can go to any character and say, okay, PvPing today, I'm going to represent my PvP guild. And representing that guild means you're going to have the tag flying after your name, you're going to see guild chat, you're going to see all of those things, people are going to see that you're online. And if you're not representing the guild, then they won't see those things. So it's kind of up to you. You get to join whichever guilds you want, whichever groups of friends that you want, and you choose to represent the guild that you feel like representing at any given time. And so it was very, very important to us to give people a lot of flexibility with how they join guilds. So that's the very, very first part of how guilds are different in Guild Wars 2. The second thing is we wanted to give people reasons to be in guilds and reasons to play together. And so what you do is if you're doing almost anything in the game together with your guild mates, you'll earn something called influence. And as you earn influence as a guild, you have kind of this tech tree that you might see in like a strategy game or something like that, and you're spending the influence on unlocking things for your guild. So there are all kinds of perks that you can unlock, things like guild storage, things like guild calendars, so you can organize all your events, and more importantly, things that facilitate you playing together with your guild. So you can do things like research and use influence to purchase a flag that you can then put down in an area, and everybody in your guild who's playing in that area together will get an XP bonus. Things like that. So what we wanted to try to do was really give the guild kind of this shared goal of building up influence, and then giving them a way to spend it on things that are cool. So another thing that we mentioned before is we have our world versus world type of PvP. Guilds will be able to claim keeps in world versus world. They'll be able to upgrade keeps. They'll be able to use their influence to make the keep harder to take. And then everybody who's playing world versus world can see, hey, this guild is flying their flag from this keep. And you can kind of have an identity in the world as a guild together. So that's a little bit about sort of what you can expect from guilds. Obviously, that's not everything. There's a lot more things to talk about, and we'll continue to talk about those things as we sort of finalize details on them. So I think that's basically it for our presentation today. We wanted to do a Q&A. So if people wanted to ask some questions about stuff that we have talked about now, or just about anything, you can feel free to ask.
We have strategically placed 2 microphones in each of the 2 aisles. So
I will start. It'll release when it's ready.
Get me to it. Yes. When's the release date?
You can jump. It's another
And the commando is clearly the 8th profession.
Yes.
Okay, we're forming an orderly queue. I appreciate no elbows being thrown, no stomp attacks. That's nice. Sir, why don't you start things off for us?
Hi, first of all, I'd like to say that the game looks amazing so far. I'm very excited about it. I had a question about multiple players attacking the same mob. You said that they both get XP and they both get rolls on the loot table, but I was wondering if it was commensurate with the damage that they each dealt, or how that's going to be split up.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a minimum threshold of damage that each character needs to meet to qualify. So for example, if a level 1 guy goes running past and swings their sword and dinks for 1 damage and runs off, they're not going to qualify for anything. As long as you meet that minimum threshold, everyone who helped kill that creature will qualify for it. But there are not different levels of rewards based on the amount of damage you did. There's only two levels. There's either you didn't qualify or you did, and as long as you do a reasonable amount of damage, you qualify for the rewards from that creature. You'll get full experience and you'll get a roll on the loot table for it.
Thank you very much.
In our event system, of course, we have different levels of contribution and different rewards at that point. That's not quite the same thing as fighting an additional one mob, but participating in an event, if you walk in at the very end and you contribute, you'll get less of a reward than if you've been there the entire time.
Gentlemen?
Thank you. I had a question about the PvE system, the group system. You're saying that to eliminate the Holy Trinity is going to encourage more people to play together, but pessimistically speaking, people are lazy. Gamers especially, they're using the free time to relax and play a game. So usually you find the path of least resistance to accomplish what you're trying to do. So without having to have a tank, having to have a healer, what are you doing to incentivize people to smartly pick a party and like min-max? Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. I mean, it's a good question, but to me, the real answer is most of the time, people really actually just want to play with their friends. So that's what that system is about. There aren't really builds that are so much better, so much worse. Sure, there's things you're going to do, and you're going to want to coordinate after you make a team, but you don't have to coordinate before you make a team. And Colin, let's say the five of us are all playing together, and all of us have warriors. You know, we can still play together, and after we make our team and start going to fight stuff, we might want to think about, you know, someone should probably bring some support skills, someone should probably have a shield, you know, you might want to have a guy with a rifle, but it's not about, we can't take Eric, even though he's our friend, just because he's got a warrior too, and there's already four of us. You know, that's not what the system's about, and that's basically how it plays.
I can elaborate on that a little bit too.
All right.
So one of the things about it is that the Holy Trinity systems are very much about taking a specific strategy and the same strategy over and over again and imposing that upon the encounter. That strategy is almost always pull, tank, damage, heal, right? And what we want with Guild Wars 2 Combat is to live more in that space where something went wrong, and now you have to pay attention to what's going on, and you have to use the tools at your disposal to react to the situation. And so what ends up happening is, in Guild Wars 2, I would much rather have a good player than a player who plays a specific profession. And the reason for that is because that player is going to be able to react very in the right way with the right tools at their disposal to any situations that we get into. And so it's very much about learning what your profession can do in various situations, and about us as designers building that versatility in. You know, Trinity systems get built very specifically for that. The guys who can heal generally can't do a heck of a lot else. The guys who tank generally don't do a lot else. And so what we've done is we've said, well, let's make all of our guys do different things, but let's let them do it in kind of a different style. And then the game becomes much more about applying the tools that we give you in your toolbox to the situation at hand. And so there really isn't as much of a sort of min-maxy thing, because player skill is really going to make up for build. I hope that helps answer it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, my man in orange over there.
So within the dynamically scaling events, what kind of systems are in place to keep people from just like hanging out in an area and making the event that much harder, but not really actually contributing to the event? Like, what are the factors that contribute to the event actually getting harder when people are around?
So the game actually is constantly polling for the actions each one of the characters is doing inside of the event. And they have to be actively participating to actually count both towards scaling the event and towards getting rewards for the event. So somebody could actually run in and they could start playing the event, and then they could run off and go make a cup of coffee, and the game's going to pick up that they ran off, and it's going to stop counting them towards scaling, and the event will actually scale back down and not include them anymore because they are not actively participating in the event. The event is constantly looking at that to see what's going on to make the exact right challenge for the number of people that are there that are participating in the event. One other common question we get about briefing that comes with events is, what happens if a really high-level character runs in and starts killing everything? And I talked a little bit earlier about our sidekicking system, about how that's a tool that you can use to always play with your friends wherever they are in the world. It also doubles as an anti-griefing mechanism. So if a level 80 character runs in and starts trying to ruin your level 3 event, the game actually auto-sidekicks them down to level 3, so they can't ruin the event.
Thank you.
All right. Gentleman with a nice white t-shirt. I like that shirt.
Thank you. So you were saying you can be in multiple guilds with this guild system, and I was wondering how will you be able to be in multiple guild chats at the same time? Because you said you can switch in between.
Yeah, so you can't be in multiple guild chats at the same time currently. You have to, it's pretty simple to change. Like, it's just as simple as pulling up your guild chat tab and then saying represent this guild instead. So you'd have to switch between them, but it's pretty easy to do. But yeah, you can't see multiple guild chats at the same time.
And is there any kind of planned voice over protocol in game for like guilds?
We're still talking about that. What we want to do for whether or not we're going to go with any sort of built-in, VoIP, or whether we want to try to work with a third-party person or something like that. So that's something that's still under consideration. So yeah.
Real quick before we do the next question, found a phone, orange iPhone. Anybody missing one? It's passcoded. I can't get in here.
Worth another prize.
All right. I'll be working on this, hacking on it. So if anybody's missing it, let me know. All right.
All right. So my question isn't so much about anything current, more so about the future of Guild Wars 2. Playing Guild Wars, the original when it first came out, the content wasn't regularly updated. There wasn't anything new consistently. We got, I think, almost every 6 months we get something new on average. But I was wondering if you're going to do it more often with this game, if it's going to be consistent updates with the game instead of, oh, big expansion this year, big expansion next year.
Sure. So one of the big things about Guild Wars 2 is our team has grown immensely from the team that we had for Guild Wars 1. In Guild Wars 1, it took almost all of our effort to, for example, after we released Prophecies, it took almost our entire team to make factions, and it took almost our entire team to make Nightfall after that. And so what we're planning to do is switch to a team that can release regular content, and then another team that we'll have two teams. We'll have a team that can also create expansions. And so one of the things about the future, we've had lots of controversial things about what exactly we're going to release. Where I can say right now, we'll release free content. We'll release some content through our store probably, and we'll release some stuff. We'll definitely have box expansions. What goes into those things, we have no idea right now, to be perfectly honest. A lot of it is going to depend on what makes sense for us to do from a financial standpoint, and also what our fans seem like they want. And so we'll be listening to feedback. We'll be looking for feedback on what sorts of things people want to see. Obviously everybody wants stuff for free, but we'll have to make our judgments on what's the best model for us going forward with the game.
All right, thank you.
Next up, the charge is you.
So let's say that a friend and I each create new level 1 characters, and because I'm feeling generous, I decide that we can play through his personal story first. Do we then have to start over and play through my personal story? Does it downscale us to level 1, or is it? How does that scale?
So you can go play at any time. You can go join in with your friend's personal story. They can come help you with yours, and you can progress along together. If you guys have the exact same personal story and you go and do a step together, you can actually choose to take the progress that your friend made on that step and have it as your own if you want to. Or if they made a decision that you don't like, like, oh, I don't want my best friend to die. No way, I'm not going to take that choice. You can choose to say, I don't want to take that progress, and then replay it in your own personal story and make different decisions in that. So you always have the option there. You can play with your friends if you want to. You can take the progress they make, or you can make your own progress as well. And those do scale, so the players that are